Hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. People say the darndest things when they think no one's listening. Today on rSpace, sometimes the walls do have ears. Caught wife bragging about her secret life on a hot mic, so I sent her packing with just the clothes on her back and exposed her to her family. My wife and I have been married for 8 years. We met at a community fundraiser through some mutual connections. We hit it off immediately, talked all night, and exchanged numbers before leaving. We dated for about 2 years before I proposed, and our wedding was everything we'd hoped for. We bought our house 5 years ago. 6 months ago is when things started to change. Our sex life, which had always been pretty active, dwindled to almost nothing. Whenever I tried to initiate, she claimed she was tired. When I tried to talk to her about these changes, she'd dismiss my concerns and tell me I was being paranoid. Then came the day that changed everything. I was working from home, and she was in our spare bedroom on a video call for work. I was in the kitchen making lunch when I heard her call end. What she didn't realize was that she hadn't properly disconnected from the call, and her microphone was still on. I heard her make another call, and what I heard next made my blood run cold. "Hey, it's me. Yeah, just finished a boring work call. No, he's here, but he's downstairs. He has no idea." There was a pause as she listened to whoever was on the other end. "I know, right? Almost a year of this, and he's completely clueless. These girls' nights are the best cover. The hotel last week was amazing. You're so much better in bed than him." She laughed at something the other person said. "God, it's such a rush having this secret life. Sometimes I almost want to tell him just to see the look on his face when he realizes what a fool he's been. But then I lose my comfortable life here, and I'm not ready to give that up yet." I stood there, frozen, as she continued to talk about how boring I was, how exciting her affair was, and how she loved the thrill of deceiving me. She even mentioned details about their hotel encounters that made me physically ill. I quietly went back to my office and closed the door. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was living a double life and laughing about it behind my back. I spent the night lying awake, processing what I'd heard. I decided not to confront her immediately. I needed evidence, and I needed to protect myself. The next morning, I acted as normally as possible. I started gathering evidence over the next few days. I checked out her phone records and found calls to a number I didn't recognize. I looked at her credit card statements and found charges to hotels on nights she claimed to be with her friends. There were also unexplained cash withdrawals that now made sense. She was covering her tracks. I managed to get into her phone and found text messages with someone saved as Gina that were clearly coded conversations with a man. The content matched what I'd heard on the hot mic. I took screenshots of everything and backed them up to a secure cloud storage. After a week, I met with a divorce attorney to understand my options. He advised me to document everything and not confront her until we had a legal strategy in place. He also suggested I install cameras in the common areas of the house, which was legal in our state. I followed his advice and set up hidden cameras in the living room and kitchen. I also started separating our finances. I moved half of our joint savings to a new personal account. I didn't want to leave myself vulnerable when everything blew up. The final piece of evidence came when I hired a private investigator to follow my wife during her next girls' night. The PI provided photos of her meeting a man at a hotel. I recognized him immediately. Greg, a colleague from her workplace. A quick social media search revealed he was married with 2 young children. My heart broke for his wife, who was being deceived just like I was. With all the evidence in hand, I finalized my exit strategy with my attorney. I prepared all the documentation for filing for divorce, secured a temporary apartment lease as a backup, and contacted a locksmith to be on standby. The next time my wife announced she was going out with the girls, I put my plan into action. As soon as she left, I called the locksmith and had all the locks changed. Then I packed all her personal belongings into garbage bags and placed them on the front porch. When everything was ready, I sent her a text. "Your things are on the front porch. Don't bother coming inside. The locks have been changed." She called immediately, but I didn't answer. Instead, I sent another text. "I know about Greg. I know about the hotels. I know everything. Our marriage is over." About an hour later, she came home to find herself locked out with all her belongings in garbage bags on the porch. She started banging on the door, screaming for me to let her in. I opened the door but stood in the doorway blocking her entry. "What the hell is going on?" she demanded. I pulled out my phone and played the recording of her bragging about her secret life. Her face went pale. She tried to deny it at first, claiming I was misinterpreting what I'd heard, but when I mentioned the hotel receipts, the text messages, and the photos from the PI, she said, "It was a mistake," she cried. "It didn't mean anything. I love you, not him." By this point, several neighbors had come out to see what the commotion was about. She noticed them watching and lowered her voice, begging me to let her in so we could discuss this privately. "There's nothing to discuss," I said. "You can't just throw me out. This is my house too." "The house is in my name," I reminded her. "I bought it before we were married. You have no legal right to be here." This wasn't entirely true, as my lawyer had explained. She did have some rights as my spouse, but I needed her gone. Eventually, she gathered her bags and left, still crying and cursing me. I closed the door, leaned against it, and finally let myself break down. The adrenaline that had been carrying me through the confrontation wore off, and the full weight of what had happened hit me all at once. The next morning, I contacted her parents and siblings. I felt they deserved to know the truth. I sent them the audio recording. I also reached out to Greg's wife with the evidence of the affair. My wife's family was devastated. Her brother, who had become a good friend over the years, offered to come stay with me if I needed support. With everyone informed, I filed the official divorce papers. With the evidence we had, the divorce would likely be ruled in my favor, especially since we lived in a state where adultery was considered when determining settlements. What hurt the most wasn't just the physical cheating. It was the callous way she had talked about me, the mockery, the complete lack of respect or remorse. She hadn't just betrayed our marriage, she had revealed that our entire relationship was built on lies. She was just a character she played while living her real life with someone else. My attorney called to tell me my wife was contesting the divorce, claiming I had violated her privacy by recording her without consent, and that I had illegally evicted her from our home. He assured me these were desperate tactics that wouldn't hold up in court, especially given the evidence of her infidelity. Greg's wife had also filed for divorce, and that he had been suspended from his job. My wife was facing similar scrutiny at work. Later, the attorney called to inform me that my wife had dropped her contest of the divorce and was now willing to negotiate terms. He suspected the recording and other evidence had convinced her she wouldn't win in court. We scheduled a mediation session for the following week. As I finished my beer and headed inside, I felt a sense of cautious optimism for the first time since discovering the affair. My life hadn't turned out as I planned, but I was still young. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but it would be mine to travel on my own terms, and somehow that felt like enough for now. The fact that she really thought she could gaslight her way out of it, even after the hot mic, the hotel charges, the PI photos, she still tried to say you were misinterpreting things? What? She wasn't staying because she loved you. She was staying because she liked the lifestyle you gave her. Oof. Update 1. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. The support and advice has been overwhelming, and I appreciate all of it. I've tried to respond to as many comments as possible, but if I missed yours, I apologize. I'll try to address the most common questions in this update. It's been 3 weeks since I kicked my wife out after catching her bragging about her secret life on that hot mic. These have been some of the hardest weeks of my life, but I'm taking things one day at a time. After posting my story, I took a lot of your advice to heart. The first thing I did was schedule an appointment to get tested for STDs. Given what I heard about our hotel meetups with Greg, I wasn't taking any chances. The appointment is set for tomorrow. Next, I started reaching out to people close to me. I called my parents and a few close friends to let them know what was happening. Everyone has been incredibly supportive, offering advice and asking if I need anything. My dad even offered to come stay with me for a few days, but I told him I needed some time alone. I'd also reached out to my sister-in-law, who's become one of my closest friends over the years. That was particularly painful because I knew this situation would put her in an awkward position between her sister and me. I texted her simply saying that her sister and I were getting divorced due to her infidelity, and that I hoped we could remain friends despite everything. She responded saying she was shocked and heartbroken, but that she valued our friendship. Thank you all again for your support and advice. I'll update again after the court hearing, or if anything significant happens before then. Update 2. Hey everyone, sorry I've been MIA for a while. I haven't had much energy for updates, but I'm back now. I finally decided to post a small clip of the hot mic recording, just enough to make it clear what kind of minor indiscretion I was dealing with, without including anything too explicit or embarrassing. The clip featured her laughing about how clueless I was and how she enjoyed her secret life. I included a brief statement saying I wouldn't normally air dirty laundry publicly, but I felt I needed to defend myself against false accusations. On the legal front, things are progressing. My attorney says the divorce should be finalized within the next month or two. We're still negotiating the division of assets. I got my STD test results back, and thankfully, everything came back negative. That was a huge relief. Greg's wife and I have continued to stay in touch. She filed for divorce shortly after our meeting and is fighting for full custody with the kids. Apparently, Greg has been trying to paint her as unstable and unfit, but she has the evidence of his affair to counter his claims. She's been through the ringer, but she's handling it with incredible strength. Last week, I was having a particularly rough night, one of those evenings where the reality of everything just hits you all at once. I had a few too many drinks and ended up falling asleep on my back porch. I woke up the next morning to the smell of breakfast cooking and immediately thought my wife had somehow gotten into the house. I stormed into the kitchen, only to find my sister-in-law. Well, I guess she's not technically my sister-in-law anymore, but that's how I still think of her. Let's call her Vanessa. She had used the spare key I'd given her to check on me after I hadn't responded to her text for a couple of days. She had made a full breakfast spread and insisted I sit down and eat while she talked. She told me she's been trying to process everything and had finally gotten the full story from her sister. Apparently, my wife had initially told her it was just a one-time mistake and that I was overreacting. But after Vanessa pressed her, my wife broke down and admitted to the long-term affair. Vanessa apologized for not reaching out sooner and assured me that she was there for me, not her sister. She said while she would always love her sister, she couldn't condone what she had done and didn't want to lose our friendship over it. I can't describe how much that meant to me. Vanessa ended up staying for 2 days, just keeping me company and making sure I was eating and taking care of myself. She slept in the guest room, and before anyone gets any ideas, our relationship is purely platonic. She's significantly younger than me, and I see her as the little sister I never had. Before she left, she helped me pack up for a trip to my cabin in the mountains. I've owned this property since before my marriage. It was left to me by my grandfather, so it's one asset my wife can't touch in the divorce. I decided to spend a few days there to clear my head. I returned home yesterday feeling more centered and clear-headed than I have in months. The pain is still there, but it's no longer consuming me. My wife has made a few attempts to contact me through her attorney, suggesting we try a mediation or counseling before finalizing the divorce. I've declined through my attorney. There's nothing to mediate or counsel. Our marriage is over, and no amount of talking will change that. I can't unhear those words, and I can't rebuild trust with someone who could speak about me with such contempt. Greg has also tried to contact me, alternating between threatening messages and pathetic attempts at an apology. I've blocked his number and reported the threatening messages to my attorney, who added them to the file. Greg's wife told me he's been served with the divorce papers and is now trying to save his marriage, claiming he made a terrible mistake and that my wife pursued him relentlessly. It's amazing how quickly these cheaters turn on each other when caught. Thank you all for your comments and messages. She tried to spin this whole thing as a one-time mistake after she literally bragged on a live mic about her secret life. Come on. The lie didn't even make it out of the driveway. And for your soon-to-be ex trying to wave the therapy flag now? Nah, that ship has sailed long ago. You're 100% right. There's no counseling your way out of someone who openly laughing about how clueless you were while sleeping with a guy who can't even keep his own life together. What do you make of this? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.